One thing that's crazy, I'll say just before we get started, by the way, we got him a little under the weather. That was a crazy trip. Denver is like 5,500 feet up in the air or something. So that elevation is really crazy. I had people telling me like, oh, they got oxygen bars and all sorts of stuff. It's a crazy elevation. So I'm just like a little under the weather, but I'm so happy to be here. Don't know quite how I feel about this poll still, but looks like I'm going to be eating an Oreo. I say we get things started. I say we get things started, guys.
And we're live. You're listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show.
Hosted by Brandon Davenport, aka itsbrandond.
Let's go. I'm trying to get my energy up. Well, it is March 6th, 2024. Elon Musk and OpenAI are in a fight, and crypto's going crazy, and everything's great in the tech industry. Episode 115 of the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show. We got a stacked show today. I want to have some folks stopping by. I want to talk about Hedera at ETHDenver, and then a bunch of other news stories, of course. And then also, I've obtained an Oreo cookie, and we'll find the fate of that Oreo cookie. The poll is still open for 1 hour on X or whatever, so it's still going. There's still a chance to save this cookie if you so wish. I wanted to actually kick things off just by bringing Brady from Swirlds Labs, or no, not from Swirlds Labs. Sorry. Recently departed from Swirlds Labs onto new endeavors, and we talked about that when I bumped into you at ETHDenver. But Brady, how you doing? Are you faring well without getting a cold or anything after the trip?
Hey man, thanks for having me. Yeah, awesome catching up with you at ETHDenver. That was a fun conference. I had a little bit of some sinus stuff, and was definitely just tired in general. Those conferences totally take it out of you.
Oh my God. Yeah. The elevation was crazy. Like I was like, whoa, coming back. I felt like I had superpowers for a brief minute.
Dude, same. Yeah. So on the up now, just needed like a day or two of rest after, but feeling good.
Awesome. Was that like, you've obviously been at ETHDenver before, right?
Dude, I have the funniest story for that. We, so when I was at Swirlds Labs, we sponsored ETHDenver like 2 or 3 years ago for the first time. And we had a booth there across from Chainlink. And it was me, Ed Marquez, and Waylon Jepson when he was at Swirlds Labs at the time as a developer evangelist. And so it was just us three for the whole week. And so 5 days straight of just talking with people at this booth for like 10 hours a day. And all of our voices were completely gone by the end of it. I think Ed had gotten COVID and bronchitis after it. We all were sick after it. It was insane. For reference, the Chainlink folks had literally like 40 people there.
Wow.
So we very much so changed our strategy after that, after we reported back. As you probably saw from this ETHDenver, there's a ton of, we had a ton of people at the booth. Charles was their president. It's become quite a hub.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just on that, like a common thing people bring up, especially kind of with conferences and kind of these high touch point environments is, always seeing it as like a signal of growth for Hedera. Like the thing is like, oh, they didn't know so much about Hedera last year. Now they know more and all that kind of stuff. But you can kind of speak to those extremes a little bit, and maybe taking a minute and kind of like going right back to the beginning, early days, going to a conference like ETHDenver, versus, this year. Obviously people know more about Hedera. Maybe there's more of a positive sentiment, but was there anything else that kind of jumped out at you, or any kind of trend you've noticed over time, just being at these kind of events so much with Hedera over the years?
Yeah, it's a different ballgame today than it was back then, even just 3 years ago. I think that with the addition of smart contracts on the network, and especially the EVM, we've seen substantial growth on the Web3, quote, degen retail types of applications that have been brought to the network. And, at the end of the day, we're in an emerging market, and you in an emerging market have to meet the market where it is, and then evolve with it over time, laying a solid foundation for enterprises, larger companies to sort of collapse into those standards and technologies. And so I think Hedera started out incredibly strong on the enterprise front, but quickly realized that that is maybe not the most viable strategy for the long term. And so something that I noticed as a trend is a major emphasis on meeting the market where it exists today. And that's been echoed in conversations that I had with Charles at the event, the president of Hedera, and other prominent figures that are in sort of leadership positions. And so I think the focus is shifting, and we're going to see a lot more shifting in the coming months and years, which from my end, I think is the right strategy. So that was great to see.
Love that. And I mean, just maybe pulling on that a little further of that trend more, as you said, kind of to where the market's at. I think that a lot of people are well aware of that, and maybe kind of, now being on the outside, looking in a little bit, even, just for this short amount of time, you've been at Hedera and Swirlds for many years. Is there anything you can kind of speak a little more kind of to that trend that people have kind of seen, maybe leaning more onto the retail side of the spectrum, and Hedera's strategy change and stuff? I don't want to prod too much, but it's a very, very interesting topic for a lot of people that I think is very top of mind. So I was curious if you just kind of had any thoughts or, hot takes over the last, maybe just, kicking off into this year.
Yeah, I think, on the retail side of things, I like to look at those as ecosystems. And so I think on Hedera, you had the emergence of the NFT ecosystem first. There's a lot of effort that went into building out the token service, adding fungible and non-fungible tokens. And then with NFTs, especially things like royalties that are baked into at the protocol level, at the Hedera level. So honored by any application then that sits on top of it, which is unique and sort of a tip of the hat to creators. And so that really kicked things off initially. And then you had the DeFi ecosystem that came around about 2 years ago now. And we've seen a number of decentralized exchanges come online. Obviously, Saucer Swaps has really led the charge on that. They've boosted TVL. They've thrown awareness. I think they're within like the top 15 decentralized exchanges across all of Web3 on Llama and Dap Radar.
Yep.
And so it's these applications and these teams that are really the ones driving the awareness of Hedera today, and that's been strongly noted. And so I think we're entering an era now where it's recognized that is going to be a driver of awareness and adoption of Hedera. We also saw, Karate Combat, that recent fight. When I was watching that, I was like, wild. Oh man, this is like the Hedera, it's the Hedera ecosystem in full force, and all of Web3 was watching. So I thought that was really cool. So I anticipate more of that. I think it's a winning strategy of getting new users aware of Hedera and then getting them into the ecosystem. And then it's up to builders to create things for people to do. And we have just an amazing community of developers. And I know in the next 3 to 6 months, there's a lot of new evolutions of these ecosystems that are coming online. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, and I don't want to hit the nail too much, but the BitBoy fight was crazy because if I were to go back to myself, you know, years ago getting into Hedera back when it was, you know, like patented or whatever, and it was kind of very enterprise, and you were to say like, you know, hey, yeah, in 5 years, you know, BitBoy is going to get into a karate fight on, you know, hosted by Hedera Project, you'd be like, what kind of like weird alternate world? You wouldn't believe it, but here we are. And retail is definitely taking it by storm, and we're seeing kind of the results of that. I mean, the timing couldn't be more perfect. And talking about retail, I wanted to ask you, I know that, you know, many folks know that you've left Swirlds after like an awesome career there, and you're moving on to some new stuff. I mean, we had a chance to just touch on what you were working on when we were talking at the booth. I don't know if you wanted to share any more about that, or if it's kind of still under the radar. I know you were part of that build-a-thon at ETHDenver for Hedera, so I was curious to see if you had any more you wanted to share with people, or more of a soon TM type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. So we did participate in ETHDenver. We do have an announcement that's coming up. I don't have an exact timeline on that, but it'll probably be within the next week or two. And so really excited to share with the community what we've come up with. And we'll have a proper, blog posting, an introduction for everybody. So be on the lookout for that.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I get the sense that it's still kind of under wraps. So I'm really excited. That's really, really cool. So I'd encourage people to definitely, if you're interested in cool Hedera projects, I'd kind of like make sure to follow along with Brady. And then, yeah, before I move on here, I know I wanted to throw out an invite to other people throughout the show, want to chat about ETHDenver, but I'm going to dive onto a couple news items here. But real quick, Brady, like, was there any last stuff you wanted to share, or any other kind of takeaways from the event, or anything like that you think the community might find interesting?
Just in general, you know, at this conference, I not being at Swirlds Labs anymore, I didn't have to stick to the booth the whole time, and so I did a lot of exploring and talking with people across other ecosystems. Met up with, you know, for example, some of the guys over at Phantom Network, and noticed that Hedera's known. They, you know, in chatting with these guys, even a couple of them had gotten Hack and checked out Saucer Swap. They think the whole experience, from their perspectives, it's incredibly smooth and really well done. User interfaces are amazing, and so it feels like, you know, back to the original topic of discussion, it does feel like that awareness in the retail and Web3 space is truly growing, and people are recognizing Hedera as a very legitimate chain to start building more degen Web3 focused applications and supporting the ecosystem. And so I really like that. And then outside of Hedera, you know, a lot of topics that I saw were related to Bitcoin as a layer 2, just kept coming up over and over again. And specifically from the investor side, but also people who are starting to tinker around and build with that. And so, you know, I think Bitcoin has really, over time, proven itself as a reputable, obviously currency, but also infrastructure layer. And I think people are looking at wanting to inherit the security of Bitcoin and build platforms on top of it. And there's a lot of opportunity for Hedera here, and a lot of work that's being done by Patches to use Hedera as sort of a programmability layer, in a sense, for certain things that are on Bitcoin. Hashinal is a great example of that. And I know Patch, we've got some really cool stuff that's coming out on that front. But overall, like, opportunity for Hedera really to not only have awareness in Web3, but also play a role and offer value to other networks and other ecosystems. And I think that's a pretty powerful narrative if we can make that work. And we've got builders that are building towards supporting that.
Love it. That's awesome. Well, Thanks, Brady. Honestly, it was so good to finally meet you and get a chance to catch up at no other place than the Hedera booth. So that was super cool. But thanks so much for coming by. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, appreciate everything you do for the community. I'm excited for what you got coming next, man.
Appreciate it. It was great to catch up with you there too. Always awesome.
Right on. Okay. I see also too, we got Krystal listening from Swirlds, it was awesome to meet you. I didn't open invite for you to come up and share anything, from the conference and stuff. It'd be great to have you up, Krystal, if you're available. HBAR listening, all that stuff. Maybe what we'll do is we'll just go over a quick, few stories here. Just cause so much has happened in the last, 2 weeks. Like I took a break from the show last week because obviously, 30,000 feet up in the air. And I was on an HBAR Foundation Spaces hosted by the HBAR Bowl. It was kind of cool. It was like reporting live from ETHDenver. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I didn't do a Spaces last week. So there's a bunch of news that dropped that I'm stoked to briefly touch on before I go into kind of my adventure at ETHDenver, because it was very interesting. I had a very cool experience. So real quick, let's dive into this. I'm gonna take a sip of my bevy here. I encourage everyone, get some water, hydrate. It was very dry in Denver. The health-wise choice, Coke Zero. So Dovu followed through with kind of two, I would say, like major announcements. So in February, we talked about this. Dovu was like, hey, we're going to have 2 new exchange listings. And, some exchange listings aren't easy for HTS tokens. So Dovu announced both just in the nick of time. They announced both a listing on Bitmart, which is great. And they also announced a listing on MEXC. So that's basically the story. Two new, exchange listings from Dovu. Promises kept, promises delivered. I don't know. I think that's great. Like, it's super bullish to have Hedera projects just churning through their roadmap. That's all I'm kind of seeing right now is just execution, delivery. There's definitely kind of a fresh vibe right now with the bull market coming in, and a lot of these different assets on Hedera kind of pumping and everything. I don't know. I think that sometimes that definitely lifts spirits. So I'm just seeing a bunch of cool stuff happening in the ecosystem, and kind of, caught me off guard too. Tangem, which is a, cold hardware wallet, use case. They've announced that HBAR is coming very soon. So that's exciting. We've been kind of starved for choice in regards to hardware wallets in the Hedera ecosystem, right? We've got Ledger, but obviously there's a lot of issues when it comes to Ledger. People want to hold other assets and they want, more network support, this and that. And then we've got, a few other I think we've got Descent wallet. Now we've got Tangem coming. So there's a few choices here, but also too, there's a ton of people excited about Citadel wallet. That's being built by HBAR to the moon. Andy, I've had him on the show. Really, really great convo that we've had about the hardware wallet, but that's going to support all the Hedera assets, all the transaction types. So that's great. I see Ryan down there listening too. I'll bring some folks up to chat about ETHDenver in a minute. Also too, again, one announcement that we kind of knew was coming, it was hinted on, X and stuff like that from various people, was some oracles. So Pyth Network has arrived on Hedera. I think it's live right now. And so we've got, hundreds of different feeds that builders are going to need. And that's just crazy. So oracles are something we've talked about on the show over and over and over again. It's probably, if you look at the kind of wish list of the ecosystem and community of what we need, oracles are like high up on the top. And I mean, we did have an oracle from Hashport, but that was for the stablecoin studio stuff. That was more of like an enterprise oracle. So not technically the first, but the one we needed. It's the first retail one. It's the first one I think that matters in the eyes of builders more broadly in the ecosystem. And then like out of nowhere, we also got a second Oracle announced at the same time, Swirlds Labs. And this one, I think, caught a lot of people off guard. There's a few conversations I had at ETHDenver about, these oracles and these announcements and stuff. And this one was kind of a surprise to people. I think that they Super took kind of initiative to build on Hedera. That's what I got the sense. It wasn't so much a kind of like leading horse to water type thing. They were pretty just doing their own thing. So that was great to see, like an oracle that just came out of nowhere. Also too, Bank Social, and I'm just ripping through these stories right now because we got a lot to do. They've announced a partnership with Cornerstone Resources representing 600 credit unions. So that's huge. I mean, we've heard from Bank Social that their partnerships with various credit unions. The last we talked, they have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in custody or potentially millions and stuff. So anyways, it's like Bank Social is just continuing to ramp up. They've got their token on Hedera now. And we had John Wingate on the show a couple episodes ago that was really interesting. So definitely go and listen to that. But Bank Social, another one, just cranking it out. We also have a tweet that really great for me to see. Charles, the president of Hedera, just like visiting the Hitachi U.S. office. This is something we don't get a ton of in the ecosystem that I enjoyed. A lot of these governing council members, the governing council itself, certain figures at Swirlds Labs and Hedera can sometimes feel a little distant, but also so important to everybody. So it's always great to kind of see. It's like when you see a crossover episode in cartoons or something. It's like, I don't know. For the community, this is great because it makes it feel more real. It's like, the president's going there and he's having conversations, doing stuff. I want to encourage this type of content from executives and the governing council and stuff at Hedera. It's like, to some people, it might seem dumb to post that stuff, but that's communication. That's keeping people in the loop and kind of like an organic way without that kind of, veil of enterprise and stuff. So shout out to Charles. He's definitely taken a very kind of like retail first approach on social media. I think that's appreciated, especially, being the president of Hedera. It's kind of counterintuitive, but I dig it. And then it was just announced that Karate Combat 47 will be at Consensus 2024, which is kind of crazy because Consensus is already a large crypto conference that, a little less in the laneway of ETHDenver. I think it's much more focused on like business development, stuff like that. It's more of a kind of like established event. Maybe that's the wrong word, but just trying to, it's a different flavor than ETHDenver. And Karate Combat's going to be there. And that's interesting because really Karate Combat has had its events, it's hosted its events, and, kind of, they've always kind of felt to me as like Karate Combat events. I know they did one with, at Rick Ross's mom's house or whatever that one was, which was great. So they're doing these things, but this is really interesting because this is like a direct Web3 kind of partnership type thing. So maybe they're going to draw more of that crowd. I don't know. I think it feels pretty fresh. And also at at these conferences, I always say, a great demo goes a long way. Like in the tech industry, you live and die by the demo. So if Karate Combat's giving a demo at a conference, this might be the demo to give. So now what I want to do is I want to, because those are a couple stories out of the way there. I want to invite some people up, and apologies if I'm a little more low energy today. I'm super stoked about ETHDenver, all that good stuff. I'm just like, I think the elevation, all that kind of stuff kind of has me a little bit operating at low battery. I'm in low power mode. I'm in airplane mode. But anyone that wants to come up to the stage and chat, feel free to request. I'll bring you up. More than happy to ramble on myself, as you know. But I wanted to talk a little bit about ETHDenver, my trip there, going through kind of like, what the days looked like. And then we're going to find out if I eat this Oreo. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be eating this Oreo. And this is an important Oreo. This Oreo, I feel, kind of represents this ecosystem in Hedera. I think that it represents everything that we stand for and everything that we're trying to achieve. And I think everybody can feel that in this Oreo. I think it's why there's so much upset in this poll that, people want me to eat it because it represents so much. I've received many messages of people saying, listen, you need to cover it in epoxy. You need to preserve it. It's a collectible. You need to tokenize it. You need to capture the provenance on chain of the Oreo. But I went against my better judgment. I put out a poll asking people if I should eat it. And I was, to be honest, I was a little surprised. The yeses came in very strong. I think we're at about 75% yes. Let me take a look here. Yeah, we're at 75, or let's see, hold on. The no's are coming in kind of strong. Okay, we're down to 73% yes, 73.4% yes. So the no's are coming in. We're at 237 votes. Got 37 minutes left. There's still a chance to save this Oreo, but I am sad to inform that this is probably the last we will see. And yeah, this represents, I think, so much of Hedera, because if you view one delicious cookie layer as the enterprise side of things, and you look at the other delicious cookie layer as the retail side of things, it really represents a metaphor shared by the president of Hedera himself, Charles, saying, listen, we have to work from the top down with enterprise, but we also have to work the bottom up with retail so we can meet in the middle, right? So we have a cookie wafer that represents enterprise. We have a cookie wafer that represents retail. And in the middle, in an Oreo, you have an icing. You have a beautiful convergence of industry and innovation coming together. That's really what this is about. This is illustrating the need for retail and enterprise to come together into one unit, right? One cookie. That's what this is about. And I think that's really kind of how this cookie resonates for people in the ecosystem. Also, shout out to Melendez, governing council member, super based. Okay, so this was my first trip to ETHDenver. I'd never been to ETHDenver before. And it was very, very interesting. What I know of ETHDenver is like, and again, ETHDenver came on my radar, of course, 2021, 2022, like the NFT craze. Obviously, that was a huge, moment for ETHDenver. And so that was kind of my initial take on it was, okay, this is NFT conference. This is DGen conference. We're walking around in onesies. We got, octopuses on stilts. And I love that. It really kind of, reminded me of maybe like a music conference or something like that. It had that creative spirit to it. And it was very developer focused. I'm not like a super developer. So it's always fascinated me of just to kind of be around people that are, outside of my knowledge scope, really kind of force you to look at things differently. And the fact that it's not just about Hedera, the fact that it's about so many other different networks, there's so much cool stuff being built. And you get to see talks by really important people, maybe a VC or maybe a, rock star developer, or maybe someone at, a startup, or maybe an established company in the space like, Coinbase or something. So it's really, really cool. You're in person, you're in this event. And I'm going to the conference. Really awesome to be attending it with the Hgraph team, being, director of communications at Hgraph. Got to go to this conference with Hgraph. And really the goal was to, really learn, understand what's happening, kind of in the broader Web3 space, kind of see some of those trends. They were very, very evident. And also just kind of learn how, Hgraph can support, builders on Hedera, because you talk to a lot of them that are interested in building on Hedera. There's a large delta between developers who know about Hedera and developers building on Hedera. There's like this interest. There's an opportunity here to help onboard people and help, make their lives easier, help things get booted up. So that's really what it was about, right? Listening, learning, absorbing information. And it was a fast timeline. I joined HGraph February 1st and then just kind of ramping up into this. And, everybody that I told I was going, they're like, oh my God, Denver is so high up in the air. You're going to get nosebleeds. It's dry. You're going to feel like you're, 70 years old. So it was just like this super intense thing. I was so stoked to go. There was so much energy. So hop on a flight, land in Denver. By the way, Denver airport is crazy. It's really great. Like, it's a great layout. They got like a little train and stuff. It's awesome. Got to the hotel. It was like this groovy hotel, where like each of the floor had a theme. I had no idea what theme my floor was. The elevator doors would open. And it was like a big picture of the Friends cast drinking milkshakes together. And then I had to head to a little meetup, with some folks. That's where I joined up with Tyler McDonald from HGraph, it was so great to see him. We bumped into Grace and Elaine from the HBAR Foundation, had a little chat, walked around a bit, and then ended up going to a dinner at this really, really great sushi spot in Denver with the Swirlds Labs team, which was really great. I met Ed, I met Allison, I met Lena, I met Nana, and I met Krystal as well. And we've got Krystal up here, and it was so awesome to see you at the conference. I don't think we've had a chance to like really connect, but like right away, one HBARbarian to another, like it was so cool to meet you. That dinner was so fun. And you guys were like just doing an incredible job at the booth. I can't even think about how many people you spoke with, but Krystal, is so good to have you on the show. And maybe, how you doing? A similar question to Brady. Like, did you end up getting like altitude sickness or anything like that? Or how you doing?
Hey, Brandon, I'm sure you can tell by my voice.
Oh no.
I definitely did get sick. But yeah, it was a really good time. I'm so glad I got to meet you. I just wanted to come up here quickly. I don't want to make you guys suffer through my voice, but
That's okay.
had a good time, and it was really good to see. Like you guys can see from my last retweet, our team was very impactful, and we had a lot of presence there. It was really good to see so many projects submit to our bounties as well. So it was really good to just meet everybody and like all the devs that were like super excited to actually build on Hedera. So yeah, and you guys could tell from my voice, we had a really good time.
Maybe like I don't want to keep you too long, because I feel you. I know where you're at. But I wanted to maybe ask, like, just from your perspective, talking to so many different people and kind of really kind of seeing the full scope of everybody coming to the booth. And then also maybe after the fact, like looking at numbers and different things, like, are there any kind of trends or any kind of big themes or any kind of statistics maybe you'd want to share with the community about Hedera at ETHDenver that might give some context or shine a light or give people an idea at the growth of the brand at this conference?
I think just from the submissions of bounties alone, from last year to this year, just the number of submissions I think showed how much of growth that we've had, or at least the presence that we had amongst the developers in the community. So that was actually really good to see. Yeah, I think Ryan can also chime in on this. Like I don't believe our submissions were as high last year. So just seeing that growth and that number was really good to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, Ryan, welcome up. To talk about people that I was stoked to see, but never ended up bumping into. I was all over the place. But there was like this wacky like Canadian group chat and stuff. So, I mean, next time I'll have to bump into you. But Ryan, it's so good to have you up here, and maybe kind of like same question, how you doing? I hope you're not feeling too burnt out. And yeah, that was a crazy conference.
Yeah, I was just there for middle week, so that's why we missed each other.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah. So it's not on you or me. It's just the way it worked out. So I was helping get people set up for the bounties and being there to answer questions. So there with Michael to do that before the main conference started. And yeah, we got a good number of submissions, definitely more than last year. So that was good to see. And yeah, it was fun. I wore a big hat and sat on the main biddle area just to make sure that people could get help if they needed to in an easy way, easy to find. And as Krystal, as you were saying in one of the tweets that you put, if you could try to miss me, but it'd be impossible. So that was the point. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So I wasn't at Biddle Week, but what was kind of like the environment there? Maybe for people in the Hedera community that are, maybe never been to ETHDenver, don't really kind of know what it's about. Obviously, there's a huge developer angle to it, and a lot of people pay attention to the conference, which obviously, ran from Thursday to Sunday. But there's this whole like second week before the conference that really feels like the major focus. It's about developers. It's build-a-thons. It's all this kind of stuff. Hedera is a part of that. And maybe for folks maybe interested in that, like what's that other half of the event kind of all about that, I wasn't there for?
So it was my first time doing that too, because last year I went just to the main conference. So this year it was definitely less people. So that was one thing that was quite noticeable. And so I took some pictures from the floor and was like, oof, this is definitely different than the previous year when I went to the conference. The conference is quite packed, right? So as I'm sure you saw.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Biddle Week itself, it was just the main conference area is like that extra buildings where they hold the rodeo. I don't know if you would have
Yeah.
changed to or if it changed after I left, but that space there where all the tables were. So it was pretty full. People were there building. There's also the hacker houses around. So not everybody was on site. Internet was internet. So when you had that
Yeah.
many people on it, what did you do? People were working off their phones too, but it was going okay. I think it was a good experience. I think like when we do our postmortem of it, I'm going to think of saying like, yeah, go back again, have somebody there, because I think it was helpful to get
Yeah.
more submissions for one, and just be able to help people who need help when they need it. Because it's hard to do that unless somebody knows you're listening. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. And then just in general, from your perspective, like kind of, at that portion of the conference, like, again, like any kind of trends or any kind of themes, like what was there? Obviously people were big on like, AI and zero knowledge and multi-chain and stuff, but like, were there any kind of cool trends that you noticed or any interesting insights that you picked up just kind of being exposed to people building so many different things?
Well, I wasn't part of the judging, but just
Gotcha.
in part of participation, and the kind of questions that were coming in. It was nice to see more people who were interested, because there was people who were like on the edges and like, I've heard of Hedera, but I
Hmm.
haven't really done too much just yet. And it seemed like more of those type of people were coming to talk versus last year at the booth. When I was at the booth. So, but
Right.
it's different audience too, because people have the time to be able to come and take that week to focus on building, right? So, or biddling, however you want to say it.
Right.
And yeah, so it was nice, but trends wise, it was all over the place. I met some really interesting people who were going through. There's like a it was kind of like a crypto academy sort of thing in another building, just like under the bridge past the train tracks, and
Okay.
talked to some folks over there. And there's some really neat ones that I talked to that were doing something around a DAO to do stuff for people in emergency preparedness. So I was like, that's
Oh,
pretty cool. Yeah. So that one was one that really stood out to me. And I was a big fan. I like stuff that's like for good sort of things. So
yes.
that was something that really was nice to hear. And I'm not sure if they ended up building on Hedera because I haven't looked into it just yet. I just got back online yesterday after some days off.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm hoping they did, because it was a pretty cool project. So yeah, shout out to them if they're around.
That's awesome. Yeah. And maybe maybe I'll ask you guys one more question, and maybe Krystal, I'll go to you first. Because, ETHDenver is so much about other networks and other different things. I don't know how much of an opportunity you had to like go visit other folks or people from other networks or projects visiting the Hedera booth. But were there any kind of really interesting like non-Hedera projects that jumped out at you, or anything kind of outside the orbit of Hedera where you're like, oh, that's interesting, or that's really cool?
I think Allison, she visited the Holochain booth, and I think they're also a DAG. So I think she thought
Oh,
that was very interesting. Yeah, and I actually didn't know much about Holochain, so I think that was the most interesting one. I didn't get to walk around too much to any of the
Yeah.
booths, but her mentioning that they're also a DAG, and they was kind of interesting to me. So I have to actually look into that a little bit more. But I had not heard of Holochain much before this. So
Yeah, that's super awesome. And same to you, Ryan. Like, what was there? I know you just listed off a bunch of projects, but I was curious if there's any others that kind of were outside of the Hedera wheelhouse that caught your attention or that you thought were kind of interesting.
There was one around more transparent governance around grants, and they were going around to a bunch of different chains, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but I thought that was very cool and something that I come from Stacks originally, like a couple of years ago when I started getting into crypto.
Okay.
And it was really open in that way, and the grants review piece, I liked it. And I think doing more of that would be really cool. So I was a big fan of seeing that kind of thing. And I understand there's some conversations going on with Foundation and things, as far as I know, to bring that up. But I was really a fan to see that kind of thing, to make like the community a way that they can get involved, to jump in. Yeah.
Right on. That's awesome. And did any real quick question before I let you guys go? Did anyone go to the to that opening party? Krystal, did you go to that opening party?
I did not.
Okay. I didn't either. I heard
I don't
it was
think anyone
nuts.
made it there.
Yeah. I heard it was nuts. There was like a huge line and stuff like that. There was like a barracorn dancing and DJing and stuff. It's like I had a mixture of FOMO and like, thank God I didn't go at the same time. I've never felt that.
But our event was actually at the same venue, so we
Right.
ended up being at that same venue like a couple of days later. So I don't know. It seemed like a lot of chaos.
Right. Which is great. I mean, that was a big theme at the conference too, is really tapping into chaos, that nature of this industry. It's energy, it's exciting, it grabs eyeballs. Love it. Okay, guys. Well, really appreciate you guys hopping up. Krystal, I hope you feel better. I think there's quite a few people that are a little under the weather, so hope you feel better. And Ryan, thanks so much. And we'll get a chance to meet up again soon in the future. I'm sure we're both up here in Canada. We'll find an excuse.
We'll eat some Tim Hortons somewhere.
Hell yeah, right on. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, so let's keep it rolling. We got some stuff to talk about. I want to share a quick another little breakdown of my days at ETHDenver and some cool things that happened. That takes us to my day 2 was Thursday. And Thursday was really, really interesting because that was the day that kind of ETHDenver started. And so that was the morning where I was like, got to get to the convention center. I got to get badged. And I want to go check out the Hedera booth. I want to kind of, get a lay of the land. And so I get to the convention center. I'm looking around. People are kind of, many people had just arrived for the conference. So folks are wandering around looking for badges. I saw 2 other guys looking for their badges. And I get a better look and I go up to them and I'm like, it's Charles, the president of Hedera, and Andrew Akins, the chief open source officer for Hedera, wandering around looking where to get badged. And I was like, hey guys, how's it going? They're like, hey. And it was funny because in that moment amongst kind of like, the multi-chain chaos of, a ton of different attendees everywhere, all looking for everything. And here I am, just bumping into and saying hi to, the president of Hedera and chief open source officer, both huge fan of those guys, obviously. It was just kind of weird because it felt like just it just felt like 3 community members, like just bumping into each other in a way, just in that environment, because it was, Hedera was just a small part of this, giant event with so many other different networks and projects and everything. So, bumping into those guys, it just instantly, before I even got into the convention, I was like, okay. So all the Hedera folks are just on the level. Everybody is right in the same wheelhouse. So that was kind of really cool. And I think set the stage for a lot of really great conversations just amongst Hedera people, which was really, really cool. And also kind of like got it out of the way because you actually spend time walking around and talking to other projects and hearing the panels and all those kinds of things. And you really go, oh my God, there's so much opportunity out there. It's like we truly have woken up after like a winter hibernation in the Hedera ecosystem. And now we're exploring, we're learning, we're trying new things. We want more. And so Ethereum Denver was a really cool place to be because it just felt like, a bunch of these HBARbarians plopped and landed somewhere on the moon. And now we're exploring. And it's like, hey, it's great here. There's so much cool stuff happening. And I think that for me, really kind of seeing, Hedera's place, in this industry, walked up to the Hedera booth, of course, super impressed. Great location. I would say that the Hedera booth had one of the best booth locations. It was right on kind of a main kind of walkway, right on a corner. So, we got a, corner lot. And it was just really, really great. So I think it was just awesome booth, brand placement, lots of people, walking by. I think that there was probably double the amount of people last year that there was at the booth. And then there was like this opening, ceremony, which was really cool. Like the creator of ETHDenver was up there, or sorry, like both co-creators of ETHDenver were up there, and really set the tone for the event, right? They were like, this is about no gatekeeping. There's no VIP tickets. It's all free tickets. Anyone can come. And if you participate in what's called their Spork DAO, which is really cool. It's like essentially a cooperative that's been running for a long time. And if you participate and bring value to the DAO that stewards the event, then you just kind of get that, what would be considered that VIP access. But it creates this kind of, interesting dynamic. I thought that was great. And there was like a lot of tension that got blown off because the co-creators were up there and they basically were just like, fuck VCs. Like they kind of took a hard turn into like just, builder, that rebellious kind of nature that I think a lot of people enjoy about crypto. It definitely set the tone of like, we're in control, the builders and all that, all those kinds of things. It was very, very cool. It was definitely a bold, opening ceremony. Then I popped on an HBAR Foundation Spaces. That was great. I saw, HBAR Bull listening in earlier. Maybe he'll pop by again and we'll have him up, but, was up on a Spaces with those folks. That was great. Go listen to that, Spaces from the HBAR Foundation. That was fun. It was kind of like reporting live, from ETHDenver in the first day. And then randomly I'm at the Hedera booth. And I don't know how many folks know him in the community. I think he's pretty well known. He shares a lot of great stuff. Lehman Bateman. I'm at the booth. This guy's there and he's like, Brandon. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? He's like, I'm Lehman Bateman, and, I was like, oh, crazy. And so we just kind of met, and kind of yet another experience of someone that you kind of know in the community, really just from the Twitter handle and profile picture, and you meet them in person. And it's like, whoa, crazy. So that was cool to meet, Lehman Bateman. Shout out to, that community member. Is awesome guy. Then I actually had a chance to like just truly like wander around the convention center because like I wanted to figure out, where are the bathrooms and like all that kind of stuff. So wandered around, again, really well laid out, really clean, open, straightforward. There was 3 stages in the one room. And then when you walk over into the kind of like main arena building, there's like 3 more stages, the build-a-thon area. So got the lay of the land pretty quickly. And there was like, the Solana booth, the Chainlink booth, the Coinbase booth, the Polygon Labs booth. So kind of there were some major players there. Cardano wasn't present there, but we'll get to that in a minute. And there were some barbecue spots. There was Dippin' Dots. It was all good. Like there was just some good stuff. The main stage was crazy. They had like camera cranes and all that kind of stuff. The production of the talks and everything. There wasn't an instance where someone was like, oh, my presentation won't work or the microphone won't work. The switchover between panels was like seamless. Everything ran on time. That stuff is so hard to do. The sound was decent. And the production was great. They had like on the main stage, they had like 100-foot by 20-foot like LED wall. So they weren't messing around. It was a really, really great production. I was very, very impressed with that. And walked around, got the lay of the land. It really became evident to me that it was different this year for Hedera. A lot of the sentiment I got from folks at the Hedera booth and just kind of in general was kind of like, okay, this year is different. ETHDenver feels a lot more established. There is definitely more awareness about Hedera. Like I said, there's that large delta between developers that know about Hedera and then developers that are building on Hedera. I think awareness has grown, and it's exciting to kind of see the gap kind of being bridged with more developers kind of coming into Hedera, and the signs are there, right? Like the amount of people that did the Hedera bounties this year versus last year was drastic. So the growth is there. So the signals are popping, and finally. I got to meet a guy named Andrew George, who's on the Hgraph team. He's a data scientist focused on AI and stuff like that. He arrived on the Thursday. We got a chance to catch up and meet. That was super awesome. Lots of great conversations. It was really interesting because he's new to the Hedera ecosystem, but he has kind of like a really deep, long background in artificial intelligence, machine learning, all that kind of stuff as a data scientist. And so his kind of like entry into this, talk about going head first into Web3, like, just, getting into things over the last few weeks and months, and then going to ETHDenver, like right in the middle of it. So that was a really interesting dynamic. Had a great dinner, had like a team dinner. And then Friday woke up, as you do at ETHDenver, you got a biddle, as others are hodling. And so got up, we had some stuff to work on. I was working on some different things, some projects at the hotel. Unfortunately I missed, Andrew Akins, again, the chief open source officer. I missed his talk that morning because I had some work to do, but I think ETHDenver, this is another note. ETHDenver is like publishing all the talks. So I'd encourage anyone that like didn't go, or anyone that, missed some talks or whatever. I'm going to be going back through the speaker list. And I assume all of them will be published. Like, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I assume. Like, if you go on the ETHDenver website here, like, no joke, there was at least maybe 20, 30 talks a day, panels, keynotes, presentations, fireside chats, all sorts of crazy stuff. So I'm going to go back and listen to all those ones that I missed. And then, later on the Friday, that's when I met Brady. It was great to bump into Brady. There was a bunch of AI panels. We went over to like Andrew and I went over to like where the arena is, where the kind of like, again, like the hackathon area is, and there's some more stages. There was a bunch of AI panels. It was really interesting. I heard a lot of people in the conference say like, there was nothing AI last year, and this year everything is AI. So, obviously AI being a trend, no surprise there. And also too, Andrew at Hgraph, he created an X account and a Galaxy account, and it was crazy because we were at a talk, watching a talk. He made the account. I put out that tweet kind of saying like, hey, HBARbarians, give this guy a follow. And every minute he was getting a new follow from someone in the community. Like, he was like blown away. He must have gone from 0 followers to 100 followers in like 2 hours or something. It was nuts. So huge shout out to the community. It's like, it was kind of surprising to me. I was like, wow, this is a energized, warm, ecosystem and community. Just the fact that, someone new pops in, gets an intro, and then, a bunch of people say hi and follow. And it was very, very cool. I think for him, it was like an experience that was super positive. And it was great to kind of watch it from that side. Because I see very often new people joining the community and the community being friendly, but it was kind of crazy to be on the other side of things and just see genuinely how someone reacts to that, and it's super positive. Like honestly, when the HBAR community does that stuff and jumps on people and welcomes them in and everything like that, like genuinely it makes people's day. So it was really cool to see it from that side, and had some great convos at the Hedera booth. I was just hanging around the Hedera booth, and very often someone would, want to talk to me, or I'd be able to help someone out with something, and had so many different great conversations. I was actually surprised at the amount of people that were coming to the Hedera booth, and the story was kind of like they're like planning to or already are building on Hedera. Like there were a good number of people that were in that situation that honestly kind of surprised me. And that was really great to see. And then many people that were looking for an L1 or an L2 to build their project on. They've got maybe their deck or whatever, so they'll open their laptop, they'll show their deck, they're talking through their project, they're trying to figure out if Hedera is a good option. So it was always fun to talk to new people coming into the ecosystem in person. It was very, it's funny. I think I learned more about Hedera, teaching people about what the network is, than I ever have. Like it was just very interesting that way. The questions you get asked, and also the things that you truly realize that really matter. One question that would come up from people that were maybe no development background, they're more of a business background or more of a creative background. They've got a project coming together, maybe a small team, and they're looking for stuff. And they see, I need a Web3, I need more Web3 developers, or I need a Web3 developer. That's a major blocker for them. And it's always kind of cool to say like, well, hey, on Hedera, like if you know JavaScript or Python or whatever it may be, you can kind of plug in and get going. And, I think that that's one thing that I realized talking to people about Hedera is it wasn't so much like, I think really what they got from it was not that this is a better network than other networks or something like that. It was more like, oh, I've got more choices. Like that's really what Hedera brings to the marketplace. That's where Hedera sits kind of in the ETHDenver convention, is like more choice, more options, more freedom. That's really kind of where it set in, and kind of leaning on all those other networks and other networks leaning on each other. That was, again, a big theme, multi-chain, right? So talking to people at the Hedera booth, just realizing, these people are looking for choice. They're looking for options. They're looking for wiggle room. They're looking for resources. They're looking for new pathways. And when they get to the Hedera booth, truly being able to offer some unique value propositions and pathways and options for people, similar to like, hey, just, you don't need to, smart contracts or whatever. It was just, that was a very interesting thing to kind of see them go, oh, there's lots of options out here. So that was great to see. And I gotta be honest, I didn't talk to too many people at the booth. I wasn't at the booth like the whole time. But I didn't hear anybody, to me, kind of have that, criticism or analysis or pushback about Hedera. I didn't hear any of those things personally. And I didn't really hear about instances of that from other people. Now that very well could have been the case. I don't know. But just speaking from my personal experience, I know that in the past, that's been a big thing for Hedera. Again, we talk about variety and having options. Well, inherently that means, standing out in some way. And I think that how Hedera has stood out in the past is, is being, patented or private or enterprise or whatever. And as we know, it's open source now, and there's a pathway to decentralization, and there's a very, very strong retail ecosystem. So that's different. So I don't know what it was. I just think that I wasn't feeling a whole lot of resistance that I've heard a lot about. And I think what that really speaks to is, again, hard work that folks like Brady have done. And then at Swirlds like Lena and Krystal and Ryan that we've had up, and Ed and Nana and Ty Patches, and just the work that they're doing face to face as the direct, Hedera ambassadors for people. It's like, it's clear after all these years that Hedera has managed to really carve out their own space, as Lehman says, carve out your own, thing of cyberspace. But that was a really very, very interesting thing to see. Long way to say, Hedera had a very good presence. I think this was a very good conference for Hedera. Well worth it. And as I was kind of having these convos, I look over and I see Charles Hoskinson, right? The founder of Cardano, creator of the Midnight L2 on Cardano. And I of course, I think that where the tribalistic element of crypto comes in is I think that, of course, Solana had a booth at ETHDenver that I think got dunked on a little bit on Twitter and stuff like that. Maybe the same as Charles Hoskins and stuff like that. But it's one thing that was very, very interesting to see that holds true is the fact that there's a lot of criticism online on social media. Nobody's saying that to each other's faces at these conferences. It turns out that, not everyone's really about that. A lot of it's just amplified. Most of the criticism comes from people that aren't even there, aren't even involved, aren't even aware, just kind of want to be a part of something. So it's kind of cool to see, someone like Charles Hoskins and just walking around, checking out projects. And, then you got Thread Guy walking around and you just kind of realize like, oh, there's also like the really high level, semi-celebrity type crypto industry people here as well. It was just that interesting mix too. Everyone was kind of mixed together. I even think, Patches had a quick convo with Thread Guy and stuff. That was kind of cool to see. I was just walking by the booth and I see it and I'm like, wow, so there's some moments happening. Like when you get people together, you get some moments happening. Had a great long convo with Sonia from Orbis 86. She is a fantastic builder in the space on Hedera and other networks as well. She had a lot of great insights and thoughts on her experiences building in the ecosystem. So that was a really fresh convo after talking to so many people not inside of Hedera, sharing their experiences and ideas and, curiosities about Hedera. Then having a chance to talk to somebody like Sonia, who is so knowledgeable about Hedera, so steeped in Hedera and also in other networks, just offer her insights from that perspective and learning myself. It was almost, I'd consider it as me almost going to the booth to learn about Hedera. So that was a great convo. And then there was the Validation Cloud event that night, which was very, very cool. Had a chance to have a great convo with Michael Garber at Swirlds Labs. Everyone loves Michael Garber, creator of Forum.io. Great guy. Also had a chance to chat with Cooper, who's at Aztec Network working on zero knowledge proof stuff. And he was telling me about things and I was just nodding. And I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about, but it's just crazy. And I think that there's some big stuff happening. So I definitely feel lucky to have a chance to chat with Cooper. I got to intro him to a few people and he's just doing incredible stuff. If you're much smarter than myself, follow along with Cooper. And then bumped into Andrew from Tune FM, which was super interesting, super great. I wasn't expecting it at all. He was just in town, stopped by this event, and had a really great convo with him. Of course, Tune FM being like a original project on Hedera, it was kind of a moment where I was just going down memory lane, going deep with, an HBARbarian, talking about, public access and all this kind of stuff. And, the same convos we have on Twitter, just kind of, talking about stuff. So that was super cool as well. And then, Saturday was also a very interesting thing. Quick mention too, if anyone wants to jump up, I've had a few guests up just chatting about ETHDenver. Happy to, answer any questions, anything like that at all. Happy to chat. We got a couple news stories to go through. I think that the poll is showing that I will be eating this Oreo, which is quite shocking. But we'll have to get through it, folks. Actually, too, real quick, I just want to say, huge thank you to the supporters of this show. It's just amazing how much this show has grown. Like, it still blows my mind. Like right now I'm looking at my computer as I'm doing the show and we've got the video feed. So we got the whole video version of the show. We've got, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, obviously live right now in Twitter Spaces. Doing it live is a huge component of this, but, times change. Things are marching on. Things are moving on. Guys, I got to be honest. Twitter Spaces is great, but definitely feels a little limiting these days. There's a lot going on the show. This episode I'm eating a cookie. Everybody is completely edge of their seats about this, but it's just audio. So live video is going to be a component of the show very, very soon. I'm working away on stuff. But now we got all the equipment, right? I've got the podcasting equipment, camera. I'm going to get some lighting. So we're making strides, right? It's all coming together, and it's all because of the show. I didn't buy any of that stuff. That's stuff that it was HBAR sent by listeners to the show. That's what it's all about. Community supported, no ads, no sponsors, just people sending HBAR to an account. That's all this show is. And just appreciate everyone so much. The address, if you want to support the show, is at the pinned tweet at the top. Just scroll down in there. You should find it. Hashgraph.news. All the info is there. Past episodes. We're at 115 episodes now, which is crazy. So go check it out. And thank you so much to everybody for supporting the show. It's amazing. Back to Denver, the Mile High City. It's so crazy too, by the way. I looked at the comparison. Ottawa is like 200 feet up in the air, and then Denver is like 5,300 feet or something. So the difference for me was like, it was wild. It was a big difference. Getting up in the morning was crazy. I seriously felt 10, 20 years older. It was wild, but worth it. Like, just incredible city, beautiful weather, nice people. It was so fun conference. Just was a little high. And Friday morning, again, I had some stuff to work on, so I was working. And again, I missed Andrew's presentation, the Chief Open Source Officer of Hedera. I was so bummed. Again, I hope to watch it. I also missed. Sorry, we're talking about Saturday. Sorry, Friday. I just talked about Friday. We're talking about Saturday. Bear with me, folks. I'm powering through this episode. I seriously think, as we're talking right now, I'm coming down with a cold live on the show. So bear with me. I missed Patch's talk and Nana's talk on Saturday, which bummed me out. Patch's was giving a talk on ordinals, the Hashnals. And there was like a Defiance mint that was just launched today on Hashnals. So like the Hashnal stuff is going crazy. I had a long conversation with Patches on the show. We went deep on all that kind of stuff. Go back and listen to that episode. I think it was like episode 113 or 112. I can't remember, but really deep convo on that was super great. Long story short, replace IPFS, right? Host your files on the consensus service, compress the files down to base 64, record them as little packets, right? 1 kilobit messages, reassemble them, use a topic ID instead of an IPFS link. It's crazy stuff. Like Hashnals is just really big stuff. Also, I saw Cooper's talk, which was great. And then there was another talk with Chris Dixon from Anderson Horowitz, right? 816Z. Or sorry, Anderson, not Anderson Horowitz. The other one, there's Y Combinator and these other one, A16Z. Anyways, big VC firm responsible for, between Y Combinator and A16Z, it's like, you've got Coinbase, you got Airbnb, you've got Facebook, you've got pretty much everything you've got on your phone between those two companies being incubators and investors. So having Chris Dixon, right, a partner at A16Z from a venture capital firm, talking on the same stage just days after the co-creators of ETHDenver told VCs to go fuck themselves, right? It's like, and then you got VCs on stage, giving insights and talking at a higher level. It was actually very interesting, and some of the perspectives provided. One thing that I just wanted to highlight from that talk from this VC was he said, a lot of people forget, and this was again on the topic of, crypto is full of dumb stuff. It's speculative. It's NFTs. It's not serious. One thing that he said that I found really grounding was he was like, I've been in the internet business, since, the late 90s, investing in companies and stuff. And he said it was the exact same, right? In the late 90s and early 2000s, it was, this internet thing isn't going to take off. Everything on it is dumb and speculative. There's no real world use cases for it, yada, yada, yada. And so he's like, it really did feel like the internet might not take off at that time. You really just had to have conviction and a lot of exposure to what was happening in the industry to get excited about it. So that was another kind of interesting insight, high level for me, of like really thinking about in new industries and how generally when they start, it's some really kind of degen stuff that gets rocking. And that's just kind of what it takes. That's just kind of how industries get started. I noticed as well on Saturday, I noticed there's this theme of dogs at ETHDenver. Not only were there sniffing dogs that were for security and keeping people safe, making sure no one was vaping too intensely or had some dank nugs, but there was also just little puppies walking around. Like there's just some dogs with little shark costumes, and there was a Zen zone where you could go up and get like massages and do yoga and buy little trinkets, and there was like candles everywhere. So there was also this kind of like very, very non-technical component of ETHDenver that was separated in this Zen zone of like beanbag chairs of people napping and people pointing in their Apple Vision headset and stuff and doing yoga, where there was like nothing technical happening. And it was a pretty big area. So it was kind of cool. But then you kind of have that peppered in throughout the conference. You just see these little dogs or like people hanging out with these dogs. It was funny. Apparently, last year they had dogs in the Zen zone too, like dedicated Zen zone dogs. I saw dogs being transported. So there were some working dogs. I don't know. It was very cool. There was a lot of kids there too. Like there was parents, like they got their strollers, they're, out and about, that was super cool. Like it kind of was like a, family friendly type event. It just goes back into like how genuinely surprised I was at, the refined qualities of ETHDenver. The bar for me wasn't set too high in that regard. And, I was very, very impressed. And speaking of kids, I met another HBARbarian, longtime fan of his, Ace Low at Ace Low on Twitter. A lot of folks may be familiar with him. He actually organized and did the original interviews with Lehman for, what was that? It was that series. I can't remember. Not First Principles. That's their new show. What was the name of that? It'll come to me. Someone let me know what the name of that show is. It'll come to me. But he did those first interviews, and that was super awesome. It was great to talk to him about his industry too. He was like in the kind of like the train industry, which was really interesting. Talk about an industry ripe for disruption when it comes to data sharing and tokenization and all that kind of stuff. I'm searching for this interview here because it was one that we all love. And what one was it? Oh, I wish. No, I can't find it. Anyways, I wish I could give it a shout out. It starts with an I. It's like industry something, insight something. I don't know. It'll come to me. Great guy, Ace Low. Love the guy. And then Saturday at the, kind of like winding down the conference area, another big theme that I picked up on in the conference was politics. Crypto has become very, very, very political. A lot of people maybe like to think that, crypto is not political. But, because the nature of it, because, we're really kind of in a battle with large institutions. We want control of our money. We want control of our information, all these different types of things. These are political things, right? And so naturally with election season coming up in the US and, being in the US at this event, politics was a big focus. And this was really evident because, at the event to end the Saturday, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Gave a talk, and I mean politics aside, whatever you think about Kennedy Jr. It was a presidential candidate at a Web3 event, and definitely shows the industry's getting attention. Definitely shows that it's valuable, kind of in the zeitgeist of what's happening in the world. It was packed. And there was, one kind of like protester guy that was, I think it might've been the same oil people that threw the tomato soup on the painting or whatever at the museum and stuff, but handled pretty well. It was pretty charged up, but overall went pretty well. And I think that for me, it was like, again, politics aside, just very interesting to observe culturally kind of how crypto and politics are really starting to clash in big ways, right? Just talking about the regulations and regulatory hurdles, and just how corporations, we know about the journey of, the Hedera LLC and how they got started and all the different red tape they have to go through. So it does show to me that this industry is starting to mature, starting to grow, starting to, the roots are starting to really burrow into society in a really great way. It's bringing things together, but also that means that a lot of the real world, right, is starting to burrow itself into crypto. And, for better or for worse, that means politics, that means business, that means, a lot of major things. And one quick aside, during the talk with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. up there, he's like mentioning, we got to take away, control and money from, the military industrial complex, like, this company like Northrop Grumman and Boeing and this and that, and they're cheering and stuff. And I was just thinking about the Hedera booth with like the Boeing logo up there. And I was like, oh, but that just goes to show this industry is growing. Worlds are colliding. And if you want to think about Web3 and crypto at the center of stuff, if you're going to be at the center of stuff, that means you're going to have a lot of butting heads. You're going to have a lot of competition, opposing viewpoints. But I think that that's what this is all about. This underlying technology, not needing to trust other parties necessarily, not being having mechanisms to trust certain information. At the same time that this stuff is happening, there's also the solutions right underneath, and everybody's focused on those solutions. So anyways, just a very fascinating place to be in at this time. It was very interesting to see. So I wanted to kind of share that. Then after, the Hgraph team had some green chili poutine dinner type stuff. That was kind of like a Canadian Denver mix. Green chili is big out there. Turns out I love it. It's fantastic. And ended Saturday doing something interesting. So I mentioned, Andrew, new at the Hgraph team, data scientist, AI, all these kinds of things. And I was saying it's very interesting to have like, a new HBARbarian in the ecosystem that doesn't know a ton about Web3, but knows a lot about AI. And so Saturday night, I kind of dropped it on him. I was like, fun fact, Mance Harmon and Lehman Baird, the co-founders of Hedera, their background is actually in AI, machine learning, computer science. Their PhDs are in artificial intelligence. And he was like, huh? Like, again, he'd never seen them. He doesn't know anything about them. He's just very interested and excited about Hedera, just diving in to Web3 for the first time. Like many of us were back in, 2019 or whatever. And so I was like, I'm going to show you episode 2 of this show they do called First Principles on X. And so we just sat down and we watched it. And it was so kind of cool to see someone enter the Hedera ecosystem and see kind of Mance and Lehman talk about stuff for the first time, but not about anything related to Hedera or Hashgraph. It was just that episode 2 of First Principles is literally Lehman and Mance just talking about AI, machine learning, supervised and unsupervised reinforcement learning, like all sorts of different concepts, neural nets, everything. Very fascinating podcast episode. So Andrew's watching this, and it was just so interesting because he knows about all that stuff. And so I just thought it was a really interesting diving in point into Hedera, and kind of like, it's how I kind of look at things, and maybe a piece of advice I'll give people out there that are onboarding people into Hedera is like, sometimes, showing the Harvard talk or showing something that you really love or understand isn't really what's going to click with people. There's so many different projects in Hedera that do so many different things, like Galaxy or market, Saucer Swap or H Suite or any of these other, retail facing applications that kind of show people how they can use this stuff. And it's not like super duper technical. And then even like understanding, even the core founders of Hedera, Manson Lehman, have all sorts of other interests and stuff. So sometimes it's just not about just directly showing people things about Hedera or whatever. It's like sometimes there's things in this ecosystem that are more geared towards them. And so that's kind of what I try to do is like, when people want to get into Hedera or something like that, it's like, well, is there anything in this ecosystem, or have I done anything, or has anyone in this ecosystem done anything that's all about what they love, and just show them that, and start kind of in their wheelhouse. Cause it's not so much about the subject that obviously they're already interested in Hedera. But they got to get to know people. That's what it's also about. It's not just sitting watching YouTube videos and learning about Hedera. It's like connecting with people, getting to know the community. I feel like sometimes that's lost a little bit. So that was super cool. It was fun. And I always kind of am stoked to be reminded that, the co-founders of this network are like so focused on AI. It's just, I think, a valuable asset with where we're at right now. And then it was fantastic because the Sunday, the last day I was in Denver, slept in. It's great. Grabbed some Starbucks, did a swag run. So when we got back to the convention center for the last time, went around to the different booths, grabbed some swag, wanted to score. I wanted to get some stuff, like I wanted to get like a Solana shirt, like some different stuff, like it's just cool. It's getting into the mix and everything. So it would have been, I would have rocked a Solana shirt. Like, who cares? It's the same as like, your favorite bands, right? That was another thing, is Andrew didn't really know all the different brands, like what all these different networks are and everything. So it was also kind of cool for me to be like, okay, I know the cool bands, let's go get their shirts. And so going up to those booths and doing that, it was kind of fun. A lot of the booths just literally had all their merch laid out, was like, take whatever you want. And so it was kind of cool. I would say early morning on the last day of a conference is like a primo opportunity to get some good swag. So that was fun. And said some goodbyes to folks. That was kind of bittersweet. It's always so good to see the Hedera crew and people in the community and bump into folks. And so, signing off, that was kind of, bittersweet, but it was great because leaving on a high note, right? Like the last day on Sunday, it was kind of dead in the morning, but it started picking up again. Like it just would not stop. And I just had a huge smile on my face going like, man, this industry is about to pop off. Like really just getting that sense. I think so many people got that sense. Traded some gifts with people. Lena gave me a Galaxy bag, which was random and like super cool. So I've got that here right now. Grabbed I finally got my hands on a Hedera yo-yo, which was like one of the most high bucket list items I had. I had to get a Hedera yo-yo. I would never forgive myself if I didn't get one of those. Grabbed my flight home, right? So hopped on a flight, the beautiful Denver airport, flew home. My flight got delayed in Toronto, my connection, which sucked, but got home at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. my time, had to sleep, and then was up and at 'em Monday and was working away. And maybe that wasn't the smartest idea because now I think I'm coming down with a cold. But I'm going to take a look at the poll for the Oreo in a moment, and we're going to see if I eat the Oreo. I'm pretty sure I will be. I'm trying to decide how I'm going to eat it. I've fielded a few questions. I've asked people about maybe do I dunk it in milk or what do I do? One decision that I've made is the initial question that I asked, right? Do I eat the Oreo? Very simple question, very straightforward question. I did not specify any beverage or any other variables. I didn't want to introduce like too many other variables into the mix. So I will not be dunking it in milk. I will not be doing anything fancy. I will be doing a standard Oreo consumption ritual. I don't want there to be any more contention out there about what I'm dipping it in or if I am or not. So I want to keep it very simple. It turns out this is a very charged subject for people, so I wanted to keep it as buttoned up as I can. Just quickly before that, feel free if anyone wants to jump up. More than happy to chat with people about ETHDenver. I just want to share some kind of insights and takeaways from myself, deal with this Oreo, and then we'll talk about a couple other news stories and we'll wind it down. A little bit of a longer episode today. I've been away for a little bit in Denver. If you have missed the show so far, also too, real quick for folks watching the video version of the show, let me see if I can find this map real quick. I had it up earlier, but yeah, look at this. Yeah, look at this map. They have a map on their website, and it's really cool to see. And you kind of get the layout of it. The Hedera booth, it was booth number 105. So to get an idea of the placement, and again, this is more for folks watching the video version, but where my mouse is, right, kind of like the hallway kind of goes right back here and then turns. Hedera was like right at this corner right here, which was like amazing. Primo real estate. Oh, sorry, right here, right? Hallway comes up here. Hedera was right here. So that was primo booth location. So yeah, real quick, main takeaways, insights from the conference. So I would say, again, the main themes right now in the space, in the industry, as according to ETHDenver, is multi-chain, AI, zero knowledge, politics. Those are really the four things that popped out to me. Now, of course, there was like ordinal stuff and there was all these other things, but I think the main things that popped out to me were those four, kind of in order, right? Multi-chain was just a huge topic. It was very top of mind for people of like, we have to get rid of tribalism. We have to embrace other networks. Our network isn't good at everything, and other networks are some good at other things. And there's super chains and hyper chains and like all this different type of stuff. So that was a very interesting trend. Also AI, of course. AI is just, I think AI is a trend in every industry right now. If someone isn't talking about AI in your industry, then are you even an industry at this point? And then zero knowledge. This one was much bigger than I thought it would be, but in retrospective, looking back, it makes a lot of sense. I think it was off my radar, more so than I'd like it to be. I got a lot of reading up to do on the zero knowledge stuff, but there were many nuanced talks about like layer one versus roll up zero knowledge and zero knowledge proofs and like all sorts of different things. Again, Cooper did a great talk on zero knowledge stuff, but yeah, really, really fascinating. And then of course, talked about politics. Those were kind of some main trends. I think that, again, the growth for Hedera was so clear, right? The booth placement, the preparedness, the flow, the amount of people at the booth, the amount of people engaging in the build-a-thons, the amount of engagement at the booth. Just, I think everything was up by a large amount. I think that I saw that firsthand, and then it was also kind of, that was the sentiment of the team and the people. And I didn't experience much, and I didn't hear really a lot of criticisms or resistance or different things. So I think that was just a great experience for Hedera, and I think they had a great brand impression for people at the conference. So I'd say like major win. There really wasn't any bad vibes. And again, maybe this is the product of the bull market. Maybe everyone was just in a good mood. Who knows, right? I don't really care. I think that the takeaway was just all of the hard work that the marketing crew at Swirlds Labs and Hedera is doing. It's paying off. It's kind of shocking to see a layer one, right? That again, it still comes across as very, very enterprise, very, very clean, arguably out of place at the conference, right? Hedera, you look around and it just feels out of place, but yet the environment at the Hedera booth was so warm. There were so many people there. The vibes were so positive. Like that juxtaposition, it kind of showed me that like Hedera really is carving out its own place in the Web3 space. And they are sure the enterprise network, but I think that the enterprise is moving more towards the Hedera world than vice versa. And then as Brady was talking about at the top of the show, Hedera's much more concerted effort to focus on retail, talk about these things, champion retail use cases. They had Hedera They had TVs at the Hedera booth, cycling through use cases and stuff. And I think that really has gone a long way in, again, galvanizing the existing Hedera community, and then also making it more appealing for other people. So overall, big win. And I would say in the Mile High City, I would say that the conversations and all those different types of things were much higher level. It was very sometimes philosophical, but not heady. It was very, very interesting, very fresh. Not what I expected. It was not what I expected in the best way. And I think one of the best ways to kind of see the evidence of this is this post that was shared on the Ethereum subreddit that I'll just quickly read for everybody, and then we'll figure out what we're doing with this Oreo cookie. But this, I think, summed it up really well. This post on ETHDenver was called ETHDenver Uber Driver. And it says, I'll just read it verbatim. It says, "Greetings. I'm an Uber driver in Denver. We recently held ETHDenver, a huge conference in our city. I'd like to share my thoughts as an outsider. A passenger asked about my experience with attendees, and she found it interesting and asked me to share it on the subreddit. Firstly, as an Uber driver, I always deal with one asshole a day. I'm glad to report that I didn't have a single bad experience with you nerds over the last whole week. Not a single aggressive remark, or worse, that I would normally get on the daily. Namaste. I probably drove a total of 300 different people from the conference. I'm very chatty, and I'm pretty well versed in the space for a seeming outsider. I would say I discovered two types of attendees, career-oriented workers and crypto fanatics. Career-oriented people were interesting but shared the same skepticism I do. They consisted of developers hoping for the best because of their career rested upon it. Surprisingly, a lot admitted big personal losses due to the gambling behaviors. I found it weirdly refreshing to share a somewhat embarrassing experience to a complete stranger as a warning. I got a strong impression that they saw crypto as a career path as opposed to a revolutionary technology. Fanatics were more interesting. I expected them to share a cult-like exuberance, which they did. The difference is the following. I was expecting a call to action, as with all cults, but instead, I only received calls to education. I must have spoken to 200 crypto fanatics in my Uber, but not one told me what they were working on specifically. No company-specific coin or project was shared. Nobody told me to buy this or invest in that. The only call to action was educate yourself in the space, research your interest, and think about how blockchain could change it. Join communities, share your values, find products that follow with your beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. All of you degenerates, are all of you degenerates the reincarnation of the Dalai Lama or what? I must admit, the philosophy that was shared was refreshing, and it seemed that everyone was trying to help me in an indirect way, which was sweet and non-condescending. I've never judged a group of people as weirdly pacifist and revolutionary at the same time, and it gives me unreasonable levels of confidence. After this experience as an outsider, I've come to the conclusion that crypto is an anti-cult, and I'm in. I wish you the best. So I thought that was a really awesome perspective and kind of wrapped it up nicely. I was obviously, in a lot of Ubers and had very similar conversations with people, and reflecting on it, it's like, yeah, I guess, maybe I'm just similar. I don't really shill a whole lot. I don't really talk a whole lot about what I'm, doing or whatever, but, I'm in it for the tech, I guess. But yeah, that was a very kind of refreshing, cool perspective. And again, just kind of feeds into the concept of like, not quite what I expected, ETHDenver. Very, very pleasantly surprised. I think everyone was, and I think it shows a sign of this industry doing amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. So now what we're going to do is we are going to figure out what's going on with this Oreo. I'm going to take a look at the poll. We're going to see what's going on. And then we're going to make a call. And I'm going to see what transpires from this. So let's check it out. Okay, so refreshing here. Okay, we got almost 240 votes. The yeses are solid. So it's happening now. The community's voted. I can't believe that I'm eating this Oreo. As I said, this Oreo represents so much about the future of this community and industry. It cannot be understated. I think so many people feel it. It's why so many people were so hesitant that I eat this cookie. One crispy chocolate cookie layer represents enterprise. Another chocolate crispy cookie layer represents the community. And hopefully, like the gooey icing in the middle, we can meet and join. So I'm opening this for the first time. Actually, here we'll do one of these. I'll do it up to the microphone. Some ASMR. Here we go. I'm opening the box. And there will be a video version so you can watch this, but for the folks listening on Twitter Spaces, I'm opening the box. And now we see a cookie that is completely coated. It's coated in pink. We have a Hedera logo, beautifully. Wow, this is quite high quality. This is a very high quality cookie. The smell, it's overwhelmingly strawberry. This is a strawberry cookie that I'd like to confirm live on the show. This is not a regular cookie. This is not a regular Oreo. This is a very strong scent of strawberry. Underneath, clearly we have the whole cookie encased in some kind of icing. Maybe it's the icing that's inside of the cookie. We don't know. Now, I'm just going to put the cookie down for a sec. Put the cookie down. I need to take a minute here and regroup because we've already run into a kind of issue that I'd say. And the issue is this. There's a few different approaches we can take to eating this cookie. One is a major roadblock. I've had quite a few people in the poll lobby me to do a twist and lick versus a straight bite of the cookie. And upon further inspection of this cookie, for folks watching the video, just so people can see, because the cookie is entirely coated in what appears again to be some kind of same type of material as what's in the center of a cookie, I don't think, A, that there is the structural integrity, or B, the ability to separate the two layers of cookie to perform a twist and open. So what I'm going to do actually really quick is I'm just going to test. I'm just going to test the amount of give that I have here, the amount of friction. Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay. This is okay. I want to display this right here. I think we have done the impossible. I'm surprised that worked out. But as you can see, I have twisted apart the Oreo cookie. We have a clean, confirmed break of the upper layer. The logo is intact. Nothing has broken. I'm going to set aside the top part. And now we have the bottom piece of cookie. And I'm going to make one more confirmation that it does appear as though inside, much to my surprise, it is a birthday cake Oreo filling inside of this Oreo, ladies and gentlemen. This is breaking news. Now, I'm going to lick the birthday cake filling inside this Governing Council Enterprise Grade Oreo. And we're going to see if this is, in fact, birthday cake filling inside this Oreo. It is. Birthday cake filling. Okay. I'm going to move on. I'm going to take a bite and let's see what happens. I'm not sure how long this has been in this box. I don't know how safe this is to eat. This is not financial advice. Okay. I will say initially, very, very, very high ratio of sprinkles to cookie. Second bite. Now, the pink sprinkles have left cheesy-esque markings on my fingers. Is it immutable? I don't know. We're going to find out. Licked my fingers. It's still there. I don't know if this is permanent. So I may be permanently scarred from this Oreo. And so I'd like to report for people after this endeavor. I think we've really broken ground here. Nobody knew if it was even possible to properly separate and do a lick of the filling of these enterprise grade Melendez Oreo cookies, Hedera Oreo cookies, but we have lived on the show. We have done it live on the show, very similar to the inception of the governing council itself. Nobody thought it could be done, but I think I'm the man for the job. I'm going to set this Oreo aside because what I'd like to do is I'd like to observe any of the immediate effects of the Oreo before consuming the rest. Always do your due diligence. We'll set that aside and we'll continue later on, and we'll see if anything happens. Pack token. So big update. This is one that I missed while I was away. I would have done a story on this on the show if I was doing a show last week, but as I said, 30,000 feet up in the air, Twitter Spaces does not work. So I'm not breaking any news here. I'm pretty sure people already know about this. I do see Pluto here. Pluto, if you do want to come up and chat for a quick sec about this token, feel free. But Hashpack is launching their pack token, a utility token with a fixed supply of 1 billion pack. And there's initial distribution. They published a light paper. So you can go and look at the different distributions. They've got their different setup for liquidity, community, marketing, operations, all those different types of things. Initial supply versus total supply. You've got all the basics there that you need. They've got a 6-year vesting schedule. And so the purpose of the pack token, from what we've learned from, the communications and the light paper and stuff, is it's basically for rewards, in-wallet purchases, collaborations, governance. So very similar to what a lot of projects are doing, getting a token out there to tokenize their community. It's an important thing to do. I actually saw a great post from, I think it was Jack from Kabila or something. I can't remember, but it was kind of like the concept of, in this world where AI is going to be taking over so many different things, technology changes so fast, having that strong community. It's Manu from Kabila. So it was like having that strong community is like your moat as a company. And so Hashpack with this pack token, I think that this is going to really be an opportunity for the community at a high level to watch one of these rollouts happen. We've seen, so they're doing the INO, right? The initial NFT offering. They've got the concierge collectibles. So it's like these fancier, backpack. What's that all about? Hashpack? No, we got rolly bags now. We've got very fancy luggage, carry-ons, checked baggage as well, it appears. And so new NFT drop, and it's going to be very interesting for the community to see kind of a large scale initial NFT offering, right? Because the mechanisms in that, I think, are something we're going to see a lot more in the future. Like Head Starter's done a bunch of INOs. A lot of projects have. And so I think that seeing those mechanisms unfold with a project as high profile as Hashpack, I think it's going to set a little bit of a template for stuff. I'm very looking forward to kind of watching it roll out. Hashpack always does an incredible job with that stuff. So it's going to be very interesting. And there's some other stuff too. Like you get a bonus on your Dovu staking. You're going to be able to use pack token for purchasing different themes and stuff in Hashpack and everything like that. So it's all in their light paper. The most fascinating thing for me is they're going to announce the date of the launch early March. I don't know if that's been announced already. Pluto, Give me a thumbs up if it has been announced, or a thumbs down if it has not been announced. I've been away and I've been a little under the weather, so I'm trying to catch up. So I'll look at my phone and see, and feel free to come up as well. And maybe you're not at your computer, so no worries. Maybe you're just listening in. Yeah, pack token. This is a big deal. Projects are starting to bake in kind of new features and all sorts of different things for this kind of stuff. And, tokens are exciting, right? A lot of people have been kind of spooked out by tokens. What are the regulatory implications? What are the, tax implications and stuff like that for a project? So it's good to see projects kind of diving in, taking it by the reins. I like to see it. That's what it's all about. Also too, another project killing it, Galaxy, on CNBC, CEO Solo Cisse, frequent guest of the show, awesome guy. Love having Solo on, but he was on NASDAQ recently, talking about Galaxy. I haven't watched the clip yet. I'm watching it for the first time with you. Let's check it out. It's 45 seconds long.
My name is Solo Cisse, CEO and co-founder of Galaxy, and we are the social wallet. I'm a builder within the Web3 ecosystem built on the Hedera network. And the best way to describe us is we're a non-custodial wallet with real-world utility. What we've been known for are creator tools. And so in our wallet, you're going to notice our interface is a little bit different, more accustomed to a traditional social experience. You'll have your home feed, a profile, your messages, and all your assets with you as well. And when you navigate to a content creator's profile, they can productize and sell a lot of different experiences in their shop that settle on USDC. But you can also use that same interface to fire over some crypto to your friend as easy as a text within our DM system, within our chat manager. And so, non-custodial wallet with real-world utility. Glad to be here.
All right, Anthony.
My name is Solo Cisse.
Okay, so obviously Solo's on a panel, NASDAQ interview. Guy's an operator, man. I love seeing those media placements. Every time I bump into him, and when I've seen him in person, always a pleasure. And just a really great builder. So, I mean, Hedera project, interviewed on cable television, major network television, I'll take it. I'll take it. I think that's fantastic. So huge shout out, to Solo. Reporting in real quick from the cookie. I just want to give people a quick update before we talk about BitGo. Excuse me. Maybe it is my cold coming in, but my throat does feel dry. I will say, usually when I have a regular Oreo cookie, that happens earlier on. I think that maybe the extra icing component of the Hedera Oreo cookie delayed that sensation, but kind of caught me off guard. It was very, very sudden. So, Jesus, that's a powerful Oreo. New governing council member BitGo joined the Hedera governing council member. Very, very cool. And BitGo is something that I think has been a little off the radar for some people. They're kind of under the hood. This is a institutional enterprise custodial service provider that works with wallets, exchanges, all sorts of different things, basically holding HBAR for people. They're looking to add staking. They're doing all these things, but they're a little more established in the Hedera ecosystem than I thought. And again, I'm not going to talk your ears out about stuff that you probably heard already. I haven't had a chance to watch the HBAR Bulls show, but I'm hoping, I'm betting that people watched Brandon's HBAR Bulls show on Friday talking about BitGo. So if you want kind of the deep dive, I'd encourage people to go check out that show. Brandon's an awesome guy, HBAR Bull. But I want to share a couple things about BitGo. So quick little excerpt from the press release here. Founded in 2013, BitGo has established itself as a leader in the digital asset space, serving 1,500 clients across 50 countries. Now, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, their clients are like institutional enterprise, right? So 1,500 clients, each of those clients could be serving, thousands or millions of people. The company is renowned for its secure hot wallets and regulated custodial cold wallets, offering a comprehensive platform that caters to the needs of institutional clients. BitGo's expertise in providing institutional grade security for digital assets is unparalleled, supporting a wider range of clients, including Fortune 100 companies, crypto exchanges, and government entities. BitGo's investment in the Hedera ecosystem predates this announcement. The company has already invested considerable resources in integrating wallet as a service and qualified custody support for the Hedera token service. And again, it's interesting they call out Hedera token service specifically, because to me, what that implies is the foundation being laid for not just HBAR, right? They could have very easily said, qualified custody support for HBAR, right? But they're saying specifically the Hedera token service. So that's interesting to me, especially when you think about Stablecoin Studio and different stuff, right? Interesting. Continuing. Additionally, BitGo operates 6 mirror nodes on Hedera's proof of stake network, demonstrating its deep technical integration and support for Hedera's infrastructure. So right there too, if they're running 6 mirror nodes, it probably means that they're reading a lot of data from the network. So that means that there's a lot of throughput happening on BitGo's end. So that's very, very interesting to see. Also too, the head of partnerships, or somewhat, I'll show you a clip in a minute, but Zenobia did a great Gossip About Gossip podcast where she had someone at BitGo on, but basically he was saying 1 out of 3 exchanges use BitGo for their custody solution. So that's crazy. They're also a custodian for some of the larger ETFs, right? So there's Bitcoin ETFs. So that's kind of crazy. They're a custodian for FTX right now, right? As FTX is going through their bankruptcy, BitGo, a Hedera Governing Council member, is custodying FTX's assets. So that's kind of funny. They also provide services for El Salvador. They provide services to folks like Nike. And when BitGo supports Hedera, everyone can use it. So as they add Hedera support and further Hedera support for things beyond HBAR, it means instantly kind of everyone in their network and their stack can tap into that. So that's really, really fascinating as a major point of barrier removal for growth. And we know the criteria for new governing council members is much more strict these days. So this particular governing council member definitely coming in strong. I think I think there's a lot of excitement around another Web3 company joining the governing council. I think we need more of them. They currently custody several billion HBAR. So take a step back for a minute. Think of that. You could safely say that BitGo could be in custody of 5% or 10% of the circulating supply, right? How crazy is that? They've got maybe 3-4 billion HBAR that they're custodying for exchanges and holders and institutions. So that's kind of crazy. Another key insight for me was they've discovered a big gap in clients that should be using Hedera, but that aren't. And that's exactly what I was feeling at ETHDenver, right? Tons of projects that are aware of Hedera, tons of developers aware of Hedera, interested, and just beginning their journey on kind of getting online and getting into it. So we're seeing that also right from BitGo. We're seeing that on the enterprise side too. It feels like we're at a bit of an inflection point here. And they really stressed something that I think is going to be very useful for the governing council, which is that they have such a large industry footprint. They work with so many different use cases that the insights they're going to be able to provide and the trends they're going to be able to surface for the governing council is going to be huge. So they seem like an engaged council member. They're a Web3 industry participant, and they're super embedded in different networks and use cases. So information is power, right? Good council member. I dig it. I'm into it. I want to share a quick clip now from the Gossip About Gossip podcast with Zenobia. She had BitGo on Frank Wong, and he shared some insights. And this is kind of a little 3-minute clip that I think grabbed the attention of the community. So let's check it out.
Tend to describe BitGo as probably the largest name or oldest name even in digital assets that most people haven't heard of, because we kind of sit in the ecosystem just under the hood, out of sight of most, I think, retail participants in crypto. Um, our role is as a qualified custodian, meaning we hold digital assets in a regulated bankruptcy remote structure on behalf of investors, on behalf of retail users who may trade their crypto through an exchange that's one of our clients. And we also serve as a wallet service provider. So we provide software for other companies to build their retail facing or B2B applications that might have need for a wallet. So you can think of us as both a qualified custodian as well as a wallet services provider. Absolutely. Probably 1 out of the 3 exchanges in the world uses BitGo somehow underneath the hood. We are now custodian for some of the larger ETFs out there who are.
Yeah, so he continues on talking about some of the other points I was talking about. But yeah, it's that video, right? Someone from BitGo was, in an interview talking about Hedera, how they're building on it, like right after the announcement. So they obviously queued this up pretty tight. That was great to see. Couple other stories just to wind things up. There was a story going around the community talking about a new Fortune 500 use case from IBM and EDF official called DICE. And this is a digital identity play. It's a solution for governments and enterprises. So EDF is building renewable energy verification solutions for electric vehicle charging and green hydrogen trading. Along this, various opportunities for telecom use cases are in the works on Hedera with GSMA, which includes Hedera Governing Council members Zain and Deutsche Telekom and Tata Communications. So these are from all the Governing Council meeting minutes. The community has really gone down and broken down the Hedera Governing Council meeting minutes, which is great. Those were published. The ones for, I believe, November and January were published very recently. So go check those out. Community member Zepsi does a great breakdown of these meeting minutes. So definitely go check that out. And then another quick mention, there was a headline about VR Jam. They did a partnership with the HBAR Foundation. It was announced today. I haven't had a chance really to look into it, but the big exciting thing for me was specific mention of utilizing the Hedera token service, which I always love to see. We want to see projects utilizing the token service. And the gaming use case stuff is big. There was actually quite a few people at ETHDenver talking about gaming and all sorts of different stuff like that. Real quick, I'm going to do another check-in with the cookie just as we prep to wind down the show. I feel great. I think this cookie is superior to a regular Oreo cookie. It is enterprise grade. This is not a regular cookie. I feel bad eating the top part with the Hedera logo. I think I'm going to do this one all in one bite. There we go. Okay. I can confirm that these Hedera Oreo cookies, these are not all hype. It's substance. It's a delicious cookie, fragrant with strawberry. It has a birthday cake, filling, delightful, and I would say definitely, geez, if you cross paths with one of these cookies and you're struggling whether to decide if you should eat it or keep it forever in epoxy as a collectible, I'd say just eat it. It's delicious. I'm kind of sad that it's gone. I know these are seen as a collectible. These are seen as a very important aspect of our culture as a network right now, being from a governing council member. But at the same time, I also feel like it's with me forever, or at least until later this afternoon. So, key takeaways from the show this week. ETHDenver was crazy. It was awesome to have Brady, no longer at Swirlds Labs, but providing some really great insights into kind of like what it was like in the early days at ETHDenver with Hedera compared to now. We had Krystal up here. We had Ryan up here from Swirlds talking about all the different things at the event, sharing some of those insights. That was really great. And I think that, you know, me sharing kind of my journey at ETHDenver, the experience with Hedera, kind of what went down, it was really clear. I think that Hedera is finding its place in this industry. It's standing out in the right ways. We got a long way to go. We got a lot to learn. There's a lot that needs to be fixed. I whine about it on the show all the time, but really kind of seeing it in action in the real world, put into practice. It's clear. It's clear the results. It's clear the impact. And I think that Hedera is just in a really, 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 really great position for this year. Quick little mention too, just before we wind up. I know this is a call out, safety call out to the ecosystem. Be safe. I've seen stories that people's wallets are getting drained or hacked or anything like that. This is not a surprise. We're entering a bull market. You know, activity increases. There's new people joining the ecosystem all the time. More people. There's scammers. There's fraudsters. There's all sorts of tomfoolery afoot. So you have to be careful and you have to be really mindful of stuff. It's always safest, of course, to use a cold wallet, which means, you know, you write down your seed phrase on a piece of paper and it never enters a computer. And you use something maybe like a ledger wallet or something, hardware wallet to sign transactions. Downside to that, of course, you can't hold the different types of assets on your hardware wallet. You can only hold HBAR. So you got to use a hot wallet, maybe like Hashpack or Kabila or Blade Wallet or Galaxy or whatever it might be. That means that you do enter your private seed phrase into a device probably connected to the internet, or your seed phrase is generated by that hot wallet on that device. So albeit it might be encrypted, just be very mindful. Anywhere that you've used that seed phrase, copied and pasted it, typed it, anything like that, if you have a keylogger on your computer, some kind of virus, they can watch you typing in your seed phrase. If there's a link, a strange link that you visit, sometimes even just visiting the link can sniff stuff out. So just be careful. Be careful what dApps you're using. Be careful what transactions you're signing. I would say that when in doubt, the best way to avoid any issues is never, ever, ever use your main wallet. Even if you have a bunch of like other tokens in it and you can't use a cold wallet, just don't touch it. Leave it alone. If you want to use dApps or DEXs or different things like that, make a new wallet that you don't hold a bunch of stuff into. Use that wallet instead. Because remember, it's Web3, right? It's crypto. Anyone can kind of look around on the public network. They can kind of figure out who you are, what your wallet is, and target you if you've been compromised by some phishing link or virus or keylogger or whatever it might be. Someone in your house that takes your seed phrase piece of paper. Who knows? The bull market's coming, maybe already here. That means the danger is increasing. So not trying to freak people out, but just really be careful, really be cautious, be mindful, and just, you know, really take a look at what's in your wallet and think like, man, if I were to lose this, you know, I would really regret it. So don't regret it. Take the time now, right? Have a plan, get yourself set up. And I would say the last thing on this is never, ever, ever do business with anybody or have an interaction with anybody, no matter if they say their support from a wallet or whatever. Never engage with anybody who makes you feel like you're in a rush, right? If you're looking for support, if you have questions, if you're looking to do something, if you're trying to get a drop, if you're trying to whatever, no project in this ecosystem, nobody is going to make you feel like you're in a huge rush, right? If you're in a situation, you're talking with someone and you feel like that you're being rushed, or that there's a time limit, or that there's some kind of heightened situation or emergency, you're probably getting scammed. That's the number one sign, right? Always be in touch with your emotions, right? If you're doing business with somebody in the Hedera ecosystem or in crypto and you're feeling stressed, or you're feeling rushed, or you're feeling like those kinds of things, you're talking with the wrong person. You need to take a step back and hit pause and think about what you're doing, because if you were to speak with a project directly or their support or a community member, those folks are going to try to do the exact opposite, right? They're going to try to make you feel relaxed, try to say, hey, no rush, take your time, So I always kind of remind myself of that. If I find myself doing business with someone or talking with someone and I get the sense that I'm being rushed, or if I get the sense that, there's some kind of pressure or deadline or emergency, I just take a step back and I'm like, this is not a good situation. Nothing good is going to come of this. I'm secure. My wallet's locked down. I got this guy here telling me it's not. He's making me feel like it's going to be the end of the world. I don't know who this guy is. It's probably not a good situation. I probably got to take a step back and reach out to proper support and confirm some stuff with them, or ask some questions, or say to the community, hey, look out for this guy. So just a heads up, keep safe and stay secure out there. So big episode. Thanks everyone for sticking around. I know that was a long one. We missed an episode at ETHDenver, talked about ETHDenver all on the show, ate the Oreo cookie. And yeah, I'd say that Hedera's in a great spot, guys. I'd say that we're in very interesting times. There's a lot of sell pressure at 12 cents HBAR. Those SAFT 3 people. Who knows what's going to be happening next? We'll have to see. But with that, I'm going to keep an eye on the news. There's still tons of headlines going down. Feels hard to keep up, but I love that. There's also so many different HBAR related Twitter spaces happening at the same time, which is crazy. I love seeing that. Yeah, I'd say enjoy the ride. Pack your bags, enjoy the ride. I think this is going to be a great year. Roll up your sleeves, build some stuff, support, all that good stuff. Hello future, goodbye past.
Thanks for listening to the Hashgraph Enthusiast Show, hosted by Brandon Davenport.
Listen to past episodes and support the show at itsbrandond.com/HBAR.
I'm going to go take my dog for a walk, rest up. If anyone else out there was at ETHDenver, take a minute, rest up. Bugs are going around. Stay healthy. Drink water.